Am I audible? Basically, today there are some network issues. So if you face any difficulties, then let me know if you are unable to hear me. So today we'll discuss two more tests. One is impact test and another one is uh, shape test. Now the thing is, impact test you already have conducted this test in your lab, and I think you know about all these tests. So basically, impact test is conducted to know the toughness of the aggregate. And by impact test, how it is done? So first you have to take the aggregate, which have to be passes through 12.5 mm ISC and retain on 10 mm ISC. After that, you fill that aggregate in a container with 3 layers and tempting each layer with suitable number of flows so that all that air pockets can be removed. After that, you transfer that aggregate into the mold, specific mold, and go for the impact testing. And in the impact testing, there is a hammer of weighing 13.5 to 14 kg and with a free fall of 38 centimeter, and with this hammer you have to uh, compact or ram this aggregate with a total number of 15 blows. Now after the 15 blows, you have to take out the aggregate particles and sieve this through IS 2.36 mm sieve, and you have to find out what is the total percentage of the aggregate passing through 2.36 mm sieve with respect to the total aggregate which you have taken. Okay, this value multiplied by 100 will give you the impact value of the aggregate. So generally for your road aggregate, that impact value should be lesser than 30% or 35%, depending on the uh, different way or different methods for which you are using that aggregate. So I think you know about all these things. Now another test is there, shape test. Now in your lab, basically you have conducted two tests for the shape test. One is flakiness index test and another one is elongation index test. Now besides this flakiness and elongation index, there is another test which is called angularity number test. Okay, which is called angularity number test. Now for the shape test, flakiness index test, so you know about that one gauge is there, particular gauge, which is called flakiness index gauge, and there the gauge dimensions are the 0.6 times of the mean dimension of that particular shape size. So how that is? So basically, suppose you have some portion of the aggregate which passes through suppose 30 mm sieve and retained on 25 mm sieve. So in that case, that gauge thickness would be 0.6 into 30 plus 25 divided by 2. So basically that is mean dimension and 0.6 times of their mean dimension. So in this way, the gauge dimensions are fixed. Now you have to push the aggregate through each specific gauge, and if they retained on that particular gauge, in that case they are termed as uh, normal aggregate, and if they passes through it, in that case it is flaky aggregate. So basically in our lab, what we have done, we have taken very small samples because it was very much time consuming, but the actual procedure is you have to take at least 200 fractions of aggregate for each and every size. So basically that is your flakiness index, that is weighted average, and what you have calculated, that whatever percentage of aggregate you have found out which are flaky divided by that total weight of the aggregate, that are basically flakiness index. Now another test you already know about, that is elongation index, and in the elongation index you are trying to push the aggregate through the elongation index gauge, and if they retain on that gauge, in that case they are elongated aggregate, otherwise they are normal aggregate. Now for the elongation index gauge, the gauge dimension is decided based on the specific sieve size. Suppose there are 20 and 25 sieve. So in that case, that gauge between 20 to 25 will be like that, 1.8 into 20 plus 25 by 2. So whatever dimension you are getting, that is the width or dimension of that gauge. Okay, so that is elongation index gauge. Now another test, very important test, is angularity number test. So that thing is very much new. So in the angularity number, so basically let's discuss what is angularity of aggregate. So basically angularity is the converse of roundness, or that is opposite of the roundness of the aggregate. Now in this case, what you have to take? You have to take a container, and in this container some eventbrite aggregate of appropriate size. Now what is that appropriate size? That is designated in the code. So that is, suppose appropriate size means suppose passing through 10 mm or passing through 12.5 mm and you did not 10 mm, like that there are some appropriate gauge. That type of aggregates are chosen. Then these aggregates are filled in the container with three layers in a metal cylinder of specified dimension closed at one end. So basically that is a container, and in that container, suppose your severe mold, or suppose your proctor mold, like that container is open at one end and closed at other end, and in that container, metal container, you fill that aggregate of specific sizes in three layers. Okay, and a tamping rod is used to apply 100 blows to each layer, but the tamping should be very careful so as to not cause breakdown of the aggregate. If the aggregate breaks, in that case, whatever test results you will be getting, that would not be correct. Now, that container, after that, this container would be filled up with the water. Okay, so after filling up it with the water, that water will fill all the voids or all the inter aggregates gap in the container. Okay, so that angularity number is determined as 67 minus WA divided by WW into GA into 100, where WA is the weight of the aggregate, WW is the weight of the water that can completely fill the cylinder, and GA is the specific gravity of the aggregate. Okay, now why water is filled up? Water is filled up to fill all the voids of the aggregate, so that you have an idea that how much water is required to fill all the voids. And in this way, you will get an idea about the angularity number of the aggregate. Okay. Now, why this 67? 67 is basically for this reason, because if it is a highly packed aggregate, for a highly packed aggregate, it has been found that maximum volume of that aggregate that can be accommodated over there is 67%, and rest of the things can be accommodated by the water. So therefore, that is 67 is considered over here. Now this angularity number value, whatever you are getting from here, this angularity number value is rounded off to nearest whole numbers. So suppose if you are getting like 12.5 or 18.5, that would be like 19 and 30, like that. Now 67 is the percentage of volume of solids in a perfectly rounded aggregate, what I have discussed. where 33 is the percentage of volume of voids in a perfectly rounded aggregate. So if you consider the perfectly rounded aggregate, in that case 67 is the percentage of volume of voids. So therefore you have to find out the angularity with respect to the fully rounded aggregate. So therefore in this case that 67 is considered, because if you use the perfectly rounded aggregate, in that case you will get the volume of your aggregate particle as 67%. I think this portion is clear why 67 is considered. Now, the thing is, if the aggregates are more rounded, in that case, there will be more voids and resulting in the increase of the angularity number. So the aggregates suitable for bituminous pavement construction should generally be angular in shape for better interlocking. So you know about the interlocking properties. Now for the bituminous concrete road or or normal WBM waterbound macadam or other type of roads where you are using that aggregates for your base or surface layers, in that case that aggregate must have interlocking properties so that could be interlocked with each other and retain in their place perfectly. So for that reason, your for the bituminous concrete pavement, in that aggregate must be angular to enable that interlocking properties of the aggregate. So in most of the type of pavement construction with bituminous mixes, it is generally recommended that aggregate should have at least two fractured surface. Two fractured surface means suppose some aggregates are there at least two surfaces of that aggregate should be fractured or broken, so that that becomes an angular aggregate, not a rounded aggregate. But the angularity of aggregates, however, make the mix less workable. Why less workable? Because in that case, that water required to coat the surface would be higher. Okay, or bitumen required to coat all the surface would be higher. So therefore, less water or less bitumen could be available for the bonding properties. So for this reason, it will make the mix less workable. So basically, these are the things: workability and your water cement ratio. That thing we have already discussed in your first lab class, if you remember. So for this reason, less angular aggregates are preferred for the concrete construction. These are the things which we have already discussed in our lab classes during our first classes, if you remember all these things. Now the value of the angularity number generally lies between 0 and 11, 0 to 11. So in road construction, angularity number of 7 to 10 generally preferred. Now another thing, what happens, you have done that flakiness index test, you have done that elongation index test. Now what should be the limit of the flakiness and elongation index test? Okay, so most of the cases you have found that there are some limit for the flakiness index values, but there are not a value associated with the elongation index value. So basically, what should be the limiting value and how you could calculate the flatness index and elongation index in your in situ works. Okay, so basically that Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, in short form it is called MOT, specification for road and bridge works uses another parameter. So that parameter is basically combined flakiness and elongation index. That is the combination of the flakiness and elongation index. Now, in this parameter. So first you have to find out what is the flakiness index values of a particular aggregate. Okay, for a particular sample. Now that non-flaky aggregate or normal aggregate particles are separated out of the elongation index of only those aggregate is calculated. So what happens, first you have concluded the flakiness index for a particular sample and you have separated all that flaky particle. Okay, after that whatever aggregate is remained over there, that is the normal shape aggregate, you will do the elongation test on that type of aggregate. Okay, so particularly the elongation test would be conducted only the aggregate which are not flaky aggregate. Okay, so thus you will found what is the combined flakiness and elongation index. So first you will get some flakiness index value. After that you will get some elongation index value. Then you add up both is flakiness and elongation index values, and that is basically is your combined flakiness index and elongation. So another test is there that is called soundness test or sulfate resistant test. So soundness test is basically conducted to know the effect of weathering action on the aggregate. Okay, effect of weathering action on the aggregate. So in this test, what happens? Aggregates are subjected to alternate cooling and heating cycles in the presence of sulfate as an abrasive agent. So you will put the aggregate in a container, in a closed container, and it will be affected by alternate cooling and heating cycles. So you will initially heat the aggregate, then cool it, heat it, cool it. So there will be like cycle, one first heating, then cooling, then heating and cooling, like that. And then all this heating cooling procedure would be happen in presence of some sulfate as an abrasive agent. Abrasive agent means that sulfate will degenerate the aggregate particles. Now the sulfate solution penetrates the fine cracks in the aggregates. If there are small cracks, so the sulfate will be penetrating through the aggregate. Now, due to repetitive drying and wetting, sulfate salts get deposited in these cracks and grow in size. Okay, so causing it causes disintegration of the aggregate along the weak shear plane. So what happens? There a sulfate will be present over there, and due to and that sulfate particles or sulfate solution would be penetrating if there are some cracks or small cracks over the aggregate, and in heating and cooling application, what will happen? That sulfate salt will be deposited over there and it will easily degenerate or break the aggregate particles. So in this test, the aggregate samples are weighted and immersed in a solution of sodium sulfate or magnesium sulfate. After 16 to 18 hours of immersion in the sulfate solution, the aggregates are allowed to drain for 15 minutes and then oven dried for 105 to 110 degrees Celsius, thus completing one cycle. So the average loss in weight after 10 such cycles should not exceed 12%. Okay, for the sodium sulfate case and 18% for magnesium sulfate case. So if it exceeds than this, in that case, that aggregate is not suitable for your road construction. Okay. So another test is there that is called specific gravity test. So there are some new concept in the specific gravity which I'll discuss. So basically, concept of two different specific gravity of aggregates are there, and they are bulk specific gravity and the apparent specific gravity. So this their definition are explained with the help of the figure below. So there is one figure. See this figure. So these are the oven dry aggregate. Okay. So all these pores in the aggregates are these are all the pores, representation of all the pores. These are the outside pores, and some of the pores are there which is not accessible because these are the internal pores. Okay, and these are the saturated surface dry condition. So in the saturated surface dry condition, what happens? There will be no coating of the water, but that pores would be filled up with the water. Okay, but the internal pores, these are the internal pores. They are impermeable because they are not accessible. So basically, for this reason, they are impermeable pores. Okay, I think you get the idea of these two figures. Okay, so this is the oven dry condition and this is the saturated surface dry condition. So aggregate assume two weights, one is A and another one is B. So basically in the A there is only mass of the aggregate, only the aggregate particle, that is the solid particles, and in the B that aggregates is that weight of the aggregates is for the weight of the mass and weight of the water which fill the permeable pores, not impermeable pores. So if the weight of the aggregates in water is C, if the weight of the aggregate, suppose you are taking the weight of the aggregate in the water, in that case your specific gravity, that is the bulk specific gravity, would be A divided by B minus C. So what was the A? A is the your weight of the aggregate in a dry condition. Okay, in a dry condition, so there will be no water content in the pores. So A divided by B minus C. What is B? That aggregate which are saturated surface dry condition, minus C. What is the C? Weight of the aggregate in the water. That is your bulk specific gravity. Now apparent specific gravity is A divided by A minus C. So A is your dry condition. Okay, there will be no water in the pores, divided by A, the same thing, that is the total weight or dry condition, weight of the dry conditions of the aggregate, minus C. So C is basically weight of the aggregate in the water. Okay, now these are the bulk specific gravity and apparent specific gravity. Now the thing is, which should be higher? So basically your apparent specific gravity, whatever value you are getting, the value of the apparent specific gravity will be slightly higher than the bulk specific gravity. So basically these are the two definition, two very important definition about the bulk specific gravity and apparent specific gravity. Now with this example, we can define the definition of the bulk and apparent specific gravity like that. So the bulk specific gravity of an aggregate at a given temperature is the mass of aggregate divided by the mass of equal volume of distilled water at that temperature. That is your bulk specific gravity. And the apparent specific gravity of an aggregate at a given temperature is the mass of the impermeable portion of the aggregate, mass of the impermeable portion of the aggregate divided by the mass of the equal volume of distilled water at the temperature. So basically, that are the two definitions of the bulk specific gravity and apparent specific gravity. So based on the above concept, whatever we've discussed, Indian specification for determination of the specific gravity of aggregates have enumerated various recommendations of aggregates of different sizes. So for some size of the aggregates, they can be directly weighted when immersed in water with the help of weighing balance. The smaller size of aggregate can be weighted using specific gravity pictometers. So for the larger size of the aggregate, you can directly immerse this into the water and take the weight. And for the smaller size of the aggregate, you can use that pictometer test which we have demonstrated in our lab. And oven drying as per the code is could be done at 100 to 110 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. Okay. So these are the concept of the specific gravity. Okay, so another test is stripping value test. So basically, in this test, you will code the particular aggregate particle with the bitumen content, and after this coating, you will immerse this into the water, and after that, you will find out that whether that bitumen particles are stripped out from the aggregate particles or not. So basically, that is the stripping value test. So as per the recommendation from the code for the stripping value test, generally 200 grams of aggregate passing through 20 mm and retained on 12.5 mm of sieve is heated up to 150 degrees Celsius. Now bitumen is also mixed in a separate container at 160 degrees Celsius. So aggregate and bitumen are thoroughly mixed so that aggregates get properly coated with the bitumen. Now, bitumen coated aggregates are put in a 500 milliliter beaker in normal air temperature and allowed to cool down for 2 hours. So, after you coating that aggregate, you will put that aggregates in a container or normal container in a room temperature so that it can be cooled down and it can be hardened. After that, you will put some distilled water over there and maintain a temperature of the 40 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. So after the 24 hours, you will visually observe each of the aggregate to find out any portion of the aggregate which is stripped off from the bitumen. So basically, that is your stripping value test. Now, these are the different tests of the aggregate which we have discussed, and these are the IS code which have to follow, and these are the requirements. Okay, and this is a comparison for bituminous concrete, dense bituminous macadam, and bituminous macadam. So what should be the different sizes of the comparisons? You can leave.